Let's talk about something that's pretty much unavoidable these days, our relationship with AI. But we're not just going to skim the surface. We're going to look at what's happening a little deeper, inside our own heads. We're going to talk about the AI memory trap. So let's just start with the big question, right? We're all using these systems every single day. We rely on them for facts, for ideas, for memory. But what if that reliance is changing us in ways we can't quite see? Is your AI a perfect partner, or is it more like a distorting mirror, showing you a warped reflection of what you think you know? All right, to really get why this is a trap, we have to start with the illusion. It's this feeling that AI is just a perfect second brain we can plug into whenever we want. You know how it is. We kind of treat these AI systems like a perfect external hard drive for our brain, a cognitive prosthesis if you want to get fancy. You ask a question, it spits out an answer, you feed it data, you assume it stores it perfectly, ready for you to recall it without a single error. Simple, clean. But that's just the perception. The reality is way, way more complicated. This one quote, man, it just flips the whole thing on its head. It suggests that our tools, these AIs, aren't just passive file cabinets, they are actively shaping how we think. They're not just holding our information, they're getting involved in our reasoning process. And you know what? That changes everything. So if AI is an active partner in our thinking, what's it actually doing to our brains? Well, it turns out this partnership is literally rewiring how we think. See, this is the part that gets a little wild. Using AI from memory isn't just an add-on. It's not like you just installed an extra memory chip in your head. No. Instead, your brain adapts. It actually reconfigures itself to work with this new tool. It's a massive shift in the very architecture of how we think and remember. And this whole shift has a name. It's called the cognitive load redistribution effect. Basically, instead of remembering the what, the actual information, our brain switches to remembering how to ask the AI for it. We get really good at the process, but the substance, the actual knowledge, kind of slips through our fingers. And here's the crazy part. As our access to information gets bigger and bigger, our own deep understanding can actually get thinner. And this leads to a pretty scary sounding but really important concept, semantic atrophy. Think about it. Atrophy is when a muscle wastes away from not being used. Well, semantic atrophy is when our real conceptual understanding of something withers away because we've stopped doing the heavy lifting of building that knowledge ourselves. We just ask the machine. Okay, so if our own memory is changing, what about the AI's memory? Is it even memory? This is where we get to the heart of it. This idea of AI not as a vault, but as a mirror. A mirror that forgets. I mean, just look at this comparison. It is night and day, right? Human memory is all about reconstructing meaning. It's messy, it's creative, it's tied to stories and feelings. AI recall? Totally different beast. It's about reconstructing outputs based on statistics and probability. It's not remembering, it's calculating. And those two things are not the same at all. So here is the big takeaway, the thing you really need to get. AI is not a memory container. It's a context mirror. It just reflects our questions, our data, and our patterns of interaction right back at us. It doesn't hold any deep, intrinsic truth. It just shows us the patterns it's been shown. And, like any mirror, it can get warped. This is what's called mirror drift. It's this slow, creeping process where maybe an early mistake or a half-truth gets reflected back, then reinforced, and then treated as fact. And over time, the AI's version of reality just slowly drifts away from what actually happened. And this drift, this warped reflection, it has a very real price. Trusting this flawed mirror isn't free. In fact, we're building up something called cognitive debt. Think about it exactly like a credit card. Every time you offload a memory task to an AI, you get an immediate benefit, right? It's easier. But you're putting it on the tab. You're taking out a tiny loan against your own future understanding. And the more you do it, the more dependent you become and the less you actually know yourself. That debt will come due. This debt is fueled by this super common and really dangerous belief called the substitution fallacy. It's this idea that, hey, as long as the information is somewhere in the system, then my company, or even me, we still know it. It's the assumption that just being able to access information is the same as truly understanding it. But it's not. Access is not knowledge. If you can't explain the why behind the data anymore, you don't really know it. It's just a file sitting on a server somewhere. And this is where it gets really risky. You run into something called performative understanding. This is when an AI generates a perfectly worded, totally confident-sounding answer that looks like it understands, but it's just simulating meaning. It's a performance, completely disconnected from historical truth, and it can easily fool us into believing a fiction. Okay, I know that all sounds pretty terrifying, but the point here isn't to just ditch these tools. No way. The point is to get smart about how we use them. So let's talk about the solution, a framework for a much smarter AI partnership. First things first, we have to know exactly what we're up against. The big risks really fall into 4 buckets. There's context evaporation, where the original why behind the data just vanishes. There's synthetic authority, where we start trusting the AI's answer more than a human expert. There's human atrophy, our own skills wasting away. And the scariest one, recovery collapse. What happens if the AI fails and we've forgotten how to do the job ourselves? So, how do we protect ourselves? Well, there's a pretty clear safety checklist. We need transparency, so we can see how the AI came up with its answer. We have to make sure we can manually reconstruct critical decisions without the AI. We, the humans, have to keep what's called context sovereignty. We get the final say on what things mean. And finally, the systems themselves need to have drift detection built in to warn us when they're going off the rails. And really, that's the whole game right there. It's not about abandoning these incredibly powerful tools. That would be foolish. The goal is to govern them, to build rules and habits that let us use their power without falling into the trap. At the end of the day, it all boils down to this one single principle. No matter how smart our tech gets, the important stuff, memory, meaning, and authority, that has to stay in our hands. It has to be something we can check, something we understand, and something we can rebuild from scratch if we have to. So I'll leave you with the same question we started with, but maybe it hits a little different now. As you go about your day using these tools, just keep asking yourself, your AI has the data, that's a given, but who holds the meaning? Make sure the answer is always you. Thanks for joining this explainer.